Welcome, dealers. My name is Martin Gutierrez, and I'm the founder and CEO of Auto Analytics. Thank you for being here today. I wanted to jump on here today and create some free content for you guys. As if you may know, last week NIADA hosted its 2024 annual convention, and during this convention, there was a session where NIADA gives some invaluable information to dealers regarding industry numbers. Um, if you are a subscriber, if you don't know, there is a magazine called the Used Car Dealer Magazine, and this is February's issue, which you can see in my screen right now. And this magazine contains great information, a lot of value to you dealers. You might have a question that haven't found a solution to. You might find the answer in some of these magazines. They are not sponsoring me, by the way, but feel free to sponsor me if you'd like. Totally be okay with that. But anyways, nonetheless, yeah, great information from UCD. And I'm going to leave the link below so you can find this online. And basically what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be grabbing some of this information that NIADA provided us, and we're going to put it on the spreadsheet, and we're going to be comparing their numbers, our industry peer numbers, with a data set that I have from a client who's remain anonymous. But what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to obtain these numbers, how to crunch these numbers the way that an analyst would do, right? I love this report because it kind of gives you an overall review as the economy in the automobile industry. So they look at it in three ways. They break it down, and you can see here the first one is a macroeconomic view, right, which tells us how consumers are feeling, where they're spending their dollars. They review inflation numbers, they review consumer sentiment, debt, things of that nature, so that we kind of understand, right, what we're dealing with when these customers come into our doors. Two, they look at the macro used vehicle data, right, within the industry, and then three, they take a super micro look at the automobile industry, where they look at wholesale, retail, and buy here, pay here numbers, right? And what we're going to be focusing on today is that buy here, pay here segment. That's our bread and butter. And I think most of us in this group, that's kind of what we do, right? So without further ado, I'm also going to be linking an attachment, which is the kind of the template that we're going to be working off of. And I'm going to go ahead and share that right now. Excuse me. So what we can see here is basically I created a table view, right? And NIADA provides us with some of these values. If you see an asterisk next to one of these words here, that means that I've had to work my way into this figure based on what NIADA provided us. I'll give you an example. So they give us cash and deal, and cash and deal is on one of these graphs. And we all know that cash and deal is how much money you have in that deal, right? And I'm assuming this is post recon, right? So you want to take your total cost in car, and then when you minus your down payment, that's considered your cash in deal, right? Your hard cash in that deal. So what I had to do in order, because NIADA didn't provide us with total ACV, I basically went and added the down payment back to cash and deal to get back to my total ACV figure. And then they do provide us with recon numbers. So then I subtracted recon from my total cost to get back to my base cost as if you had purchased this at auction, right? So some of these asterisks is because I had to make my way, or it's a formula that's calculating that figure, but don't worry about it. The template is already pre-made. Unless you go in here and change something and break it, then it should work perfectly fine. Everything that you look at right now, you can find from your sales report. Your sales report in your DMS should be able to give you all this information, except for the very bottom row, which is a charge off. And I'm going to be skipping that in today's purposes just for time's sake, and probably make another video on that. But without any more questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and get to work here. What I need you guys to do right now is to download a sales report from your DMS, whatever DMS that you use. Some of them already have pre-made reports, so feel free to grab that. It should have most of the information that we need. If it doesn't, make a custom report. And I'm going to be showing you here a data set. That's an example. I've removed names and everything just for confidentiality purposes, and all we have is numbers and data. That's all we got. Really what you really need is the date sold. You need your sales price, cash down, and if you do deferreds, go ahead and include that in there. Your total car costs, additional expenses, and then your payment amount, right? Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating some space, because what we need is we need to look at all of this information from a month end point view. And I'm going to be showing you some tricks, so follow along the way if you like to nerd out on some spreadsheets. Let's go ahead and get into it. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do shift space and then control and then the plus sign, and I'm going to add a couple of rows here. Okay, that's about good. And then I'm going to add some columns and do the same thing here. Okay, and really, yeah, that's about. Let's get rid of some. There we go. All right. And the reason why we want to do this is because right here in this area, we're going to be creating a table that's going to add all the information from our data report and plug it in here. And the reason why we're doing some of these with formulas and things of that nature is because we want this report to be live. And that way, when next month we have new data, we can just dump in that data into our data set, into our model, and then it calculates automatically. So it's a refresh, right? So let's go ahead and keep going here. So now that you see what I did here, we have a column here. I'm gonna call this month end. Okay, and I want you to write the following formula, and feel free to pause the video if you need some time here. But any formula that you write in Excel is always going to start with an equal sign, right? And we're going to do here equals EO month, and we're going to select the date, right? So it says start date. You can go ahead and just do if you do select F4, you want to put a dollar sign in front of the column, so that if you add new columns, it doesn't change the column that we have selected. And then we're going to do comma 0 and hit enter. And now you can see here that we have a date here, 12/31/2023. So basically what this formula is doing, it's just putting this transaction as if it happened on the last day of the month, just so we can kind of account for it that way. Let's go ahead, and now what I'd like to do is I just go all the way down to my report, and maybe I can show you guys on my keyboard here. And I'm going to bring this formula down. You can either hit Control D to drag that formula down, or you can hit copy, go all the way up, Alt ESV, actually Alt ESF because we want the formulas. And now you can see that we have our months there. Now, why is this important? This is important because that's what we're going to use to create our table over here. Okay, so we're looking at 12 months. So I'm going to go ahead and go into cell 813, and we're going to do a formula called equals EO month. And we're going to, very similar to the one that we just did, except we're going to throw a max function in here. And what max is doing is that max is going to take the latest and greatest date from our data set. Okay, and then we're going to close parenthesis, comma 0, and that's what we get. Right now, you're going to see this weird number, and basically we just got to change the format. So you can go up into your ribbon here and then hit short date, or you can do, if you want to learn shortcuts, you can go ahead and do Alt H and then just type short date, and it changes it for you. Right. All right. Now, with that being said, we need to create the rest of the months. And this is another formula that we're going to write right above the one we just created. And this is equals EO month. We're going to select the formula that we just created, comma. Actually, let me go ahead and also do that. And then here we're going to do a -1. Okay, now you can see that Excel is giving you this date in general. So do the same thing. You can just format paint. And now you're looking at what the formula is doing is basically deducting 1 month from what you have selected, right? We're going to copy this, and we're going to go all the way up. And there we go. All right. So now we have our months. Why is this important that we did it this way? Because we could have just done this as well. We could have said, okay, I'm just going to do this, and we're going to do this, hard code these figures in here. And if you know a little bit about it, you can just click this little corner, and it's a black cross, and double click, and it takes it all the way down, and it's essentially the same thing, right? Well, it's not, because next month when you upload a new data set, you would have to change this and remember to change this manually. You don't want that. What you want is for the data to kind of work by itself for you. And next month, this formula will pick up, in this case, if we were doing this in January of 24, then it would create a new tab for January 24, and then one of these would fall off, right? Until you get to January of 2020, December of 2024. So that's why we're doing it this way. We're going to get rid of that real quick. Now, in order for us to get our averages, because obviously these are averages here, and we want to look at a couple of things, right? ACV, recon, sell price, down, cash and deal. We're not going to be able to get this, but we can get pretty close. Yeah, we can. We can get to that. And then I'll talk about this here shortly. We need to get averages, right? And in order for us to do that in Excel, what we're going to do is we're going to create a column called number of sales. Okay. And then we're going to be bringing in these figures here. And I'm just going to copy these. And I'm going to paste them in here. And I'm doing this transpose here. So now you can see that I've pasted these in here in the following way, because that's the information that we want to obtain, right? And in order for us to do that, we're going to start off with number of sales, and I'm going to show you another formula here, and this is called equals count if, and we want to count the range, and I'm just going to select the date, okay? And what I did here was come over here to the column, hit Control space, and it selects that date for you, the entire column, and then do an absolute lock there, do a comma, and then select that date for that month, and then I also want to lock that column and close parenthesis, enter. Okay, now you see that basically what the formula is doing, it's counting every transaction with a 131 month end number. Okay, so we're going to drag that down, and those are the sales for this dealer for the year. And then now we can get into the fun stuff, right? Now we want to calculate base ACV, recon, total ACV, and sales price. So you can see that all this information is here. The names of the columns are going to be a little different, but that's irrelevant. As long as we know what we're looking at, it's okay. Total car cost. And you can see here, for example, we have the total car cost and additional expense. So in this data set, we don't have the base car cost, but we can calculate that, right? And how can we calculate that? I'm just going to create a custom column here called base ACV. And we're just going to take total car cost minus additional expenses, and that should get us our base ACV, okay? And what we're going to do here is we're going to do equals sum ifs. Sum ifs is going to sum the data set that we select, the range, based on certain criteria. And the criteria here is going to be the date, right? So we're going to go into base ACV. We want to sum the dollars for base ACV, freeze that, comma, criteria range. We're going to select the month end custom column that we created here, right? And then we're going to select the date in our data table, okay? And you can see that that's the base ACV. That's the total. That's what cost us that month, right? So that's how much 21 sales, the ACV on those sales was 193,000, and you can go on and on and on, right? You can see tax season here, got pretty good, and then all of a sudden, it feels like tax season nowadays is only a month if you're lucky. And we're gonna do the same thing with recon, right? And you just paste that over here. I did a Control Copy, Control V, and what you can do is just select this formula up here and just move your base ACV into additional expenses, and we have that information, right? And we do the same thing here, and instead of sorry, instead of the base ACV, we're going to do total car cost. Okay. And you can see where I'm going with this. It's just repetitive now. Going to sales price. And we're going to go in with the down payment. And we're going to select down, cash down. Now, before we move on, we want to consider that deferred down. You can see that this dealer does a deferred down here. So I'm just going to copy deferred down. Do the same formula here. And then this will be a total down column. And this basically becomes this plus that. All right. And there you have it, guys. We've completed our table. This is a table that we're going to be working with that's going to be feeding us the information in order to get our averages. Now, you might say, how am I going to get averages when all you did was sum the entire data set, right? Well, what we can do here is next to base ACV, we can say base ACV per car. We're going to be doing a lot of, and that's it, okay? Recon per car, total ACV per car. Sales price per car. And we're going to be doing total down per car. All right. And we're going to start off with base ACV, and all we're going to be doing is just taking the total dollar amount divided by the number of sales. Okay. We're going to take the recon divided by the number of sales. Take total ACV, divide that by the number of sales. Take sales price, divide that by the number of sales. And last but not least, we'll take total down, divide that by the number of sales. And we come up with our per car metrics. So if you want, that way you don't get overwhelmed with all the data that we're looking at, we can go ahead and just take these metrics, like the ones that are total, and I'm holding control and just selecting the columns that I want to hide. And we're gonna do that as well. And there you go, right? Now we have kind of the average for that month. And what we can do here is just say the average for the entire year. Okay, there we go. So I just took an average of the averages. And you can see kind of where this dealer kind of lies, right? So base ACV on average is about 91.20. If you select that, you go back down to the bottom, you see the average 91.20 for the year. Recon per car, 12.89. You can see that as well. Checks out. Total ACV, sales price per car, and then total down per car. So now that we have our averages, what we can do is just plug them in here. And dealer name, I'll just call this example dealer, right? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to select equals, and we're just going to bring this down here. And if you do, actually, and we're going to come back and select this here. That's my recon. So go here, go to recon. Total ACV equals total ACV down here. Sales price equals the sales price that we calculated. And down equals total down per car. So with that being said, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs. Everything that we just did for 5 inputs, right? Now, keep in mind, these formulas can be somewhat complex, and there's a lot of room for error. Right? So just be very careful, slow down the video, make sure that you're following kind of what I'm doing here. And now what we're going to be doing here is calculate the cash and deal, right? So we said earlier that cash and deal is your total car cost, including recon, excuse me, and you deduct your down payment to get your cash dollar in that deal, right? So let's do that. We're going to do equals here, and we're going to go into the total ACV, and we're going to deduct the down payment, the total down. And you can see here that we're looking at 79.77. Markup, there's formulas in here. We can just copy that formula and put it right here for us. Make sure that it's selecting the right information here. So about 75% markup for the year for this specific dealership. Now, one that we didn't calculate was weekly payments, and that's how NIADA provides it to us in the magazine. Let's go back and look at this data set. And we can see that this dealer has a mix. You can tell by payment type. That's another column that I would recommend you to add to your data, because we will need to convert some of these metrics into monthly, so we can kind of work our way back into a weekly format. If you care, if you don't have to do this. You can skip this step. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and convert some of these into monthly payments. All right, so we'll call this monthly payment. And this is going to be an if formula. So if we're going to select B. So we have, looks like first, I guess we should identify how many frequencies we have. And we'll put a filter and we look at the information here. It looks like we only have 3: bi-weekly, monthly, and semi-monthly. So our formula is going to consist of 3 if statements, sort of. We're going to do equals if, and we're going to start with B. If this formula, this cell equals B, value if true, in order to convert a biweekly payment to a monthly payment. All right, let's think here. We're going to be taking the payment amount and we're going to be multiplying that by 26, dividing it by 12. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. So where were we? Okay, so we have AK. So we were here. Okay, if AK 13 equals B, then we want to take the monthly the payment that's scheduled. So that's the biweekly. So then we take the payment amount, and this is biweekly, so we're going to divide that by 26, multiply by 12. Value if false. So once this is false, we're going to, if false, we're going to do another if. We're going to go back to AK here. All right, if now that equals, we're going to do semi-month, S for semi. Value if true, then we're going to take payment amount again, divide that by 24, multiply by 12. Value if false, and if all this is false, and we're just going to select the payment amount because it'll already be monthly, right? We don't have to convert it. So what we're going to do is close our parenthesis, and we are good. Something's wrong here. Six times 12. All right. So now that we've identified the frequencies, which we only have 3, we're going to convert our biweeklies and our semi-monthlies into monthly payments. And then once we have everything in monthly, it's easier to just convert everything to weekly. And like I said, this is kind of just extra, but I'm going to include it just for your purposes. And here we're going to be using as an if function. And we're going to select the payment type or payment frequency. Some DMSs refer to it in different ways. And some of them might have like bi-weekly, the actual word. So just kind of be careful. The most important thing to do here is just include what I'm about to do in quotation marks. So for example, if AK, and then it's telling you what's the logical test equals, I'm going to do 2 quotes here, 20 years, B, value of true, then we're going to take the payment amount. Okay. We're going to multiply that by 26 and divide that by 12. All right. And if it's false, then we're going to do another if, because some of these are going to land on S. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do S. And if that's true, we're going to take the payment amount again. And then we're going to multiply that by 24 and divide by 12. And if it's false, then we're just going to select payment amount because the next category is just monthly. No need to convert that if it's already given to us. And there you go. According to the calculation, now this biweekly payment comes out to be about $7.90 a month. We're going to drag that all the way down. And now we have our monthly payments. And then, like I said, we're going to do a weekly payment here. And simply to do that, we take the monthly payment, we divide that by 52 times 12. And that's how we get our weekly payment. Uh-oh. And I'm a little bit OCD, so I'm just going to leave 2 decimals there. All right, so now that we have that information, we can add that here as well, monthly payment and weekly payment. And what we can do is really, oh, we lost the formulas because we hit them, so we're going to have to write it all over again. Take the entire monthly payment. If the criteria is a month end, and based on that, right? So, and I'm gonna make a comment here. So that's basically what we created there. What we can then do is do that divided by 21, and that's kind of our averages there. So I didn't actually need that. I need this here. Hide that. Monthly payment average. And do the same thing. Just divide that by that. All right, there we go. So weekly payments, we just calculated that. Let's take that and put it right here. Really bi-weekly, we could do that as well. We didn't calculate it. Let's just get monthly here. If you wanted to get bi-weekly payments, we could. Matter of fact, let's do it because we already did it for all the other ones. So why not? Just take that, divide that by 26 times 12. And you can see that it matches with what the system gave us. All right, so and average here. And we're going to take this, divide that by hide that. 2 and 3, 45. All right, guys. Now, with that being said, now we're done, right? Remember, this we're going to leave off for another video. Not sure, man, I wish I would have timed it, but this probably took me anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. And now we can compare, right? We can compare our numbers to what NIADA produced. Now, keep in mind, this is very important to note here that if you are nowhere close to these numbers, that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. There's a lot of dealers that manage different models. Now, I'm sure that NIADA is accounting for some of those in here, but ultimately, I think that more buy here, pay here dealers are, and it all starts with your model, right? Your ACV model. And I think that a lot of buy here, pay here dealers are typically between the anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 range. And there's more of those buy here, pay here players than buy here, payers that are doing, I don't know, $15,000 to $16,000 ACVs. So that they're going to naturally just drag down the average. So if you're a dealer that has an ACV anywhere between, 15 to 17, your numbers are going to be totally different, right? Your downs should be a lot different, right? Your sales price is going to be different. Your markup is going to be, it should be less as well because it's just harder to sell a car with a 75% markup at that ACV price point. So just keep those things in mind. Those are all things that, don't freak out if your numbers are not in line. We can see here naturally with this dealer, there's some differences, right? For example, base ACV starts at 9,121 compared to 8,000. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of create here the differences, right? Recon isn't so far off, even though he's buying a little bit more of expensive starting point ACV. His Recon is pretty much online on par. Now, when you get down to the total cost, 950, and that starts here, right? It's kind of there. So 10,000 is his all-in ACV, and then he's doing a 75% markup. So when we're looking at markups from the industry here, you can see that it's a little bit higher than what it was for 2023, but more in line with 2022 here. So that brings it up to 18,172, and that's that $2,300 difference there in his sales price. And then now you just see the huge difference here in the down payment. Really just depends on where you are, where you're living. Traditionally, Texas dealers have really solid down payments from what I've gathered versus other states, right? Florida, another great place for big down payments. Georgia's is pretty good as well. And then lastly, the cash in deal, right? And again, this is a calculation where we take the total ACV and we reduce that down payment, and it's $427 less than what what the industry is doing. And then here we get to the weekly payments, right? Then for example, everybody who's doing weekly payments at 103, he's at 142, just because he does have those $2,000, $2,300 additional of sales price. And then you can see the biweekly and the monthly payments. So with that being said, guys, you guys kind of saw how long that took for me to kind of get together and produce. And obviously I've been doing this quite a while now, so I got some experience. But look at how much data and how much time that took for me. I know dealers are always running around, putting out fires left and right. So the secret that I said earlier in this video, and I'm going to do a plug here to auto analytics. Let's go ahead and take a quick look here. I'm going to go back to this screen. I'll be right back in a sec. All right, guys, we're back. And like I said earlier, this was the secret kind of that I was going to tell you guys, let you guys in on. You guys saw kind of how long that took us to kind of create and compile and put together, right? Which is not hard, and if you have the time, you can easily get that information. But what I wanted to do is kind of show you this is what Auto Analytics provides to dealers nationwide, whether you're retail, whether you're a buy here, pay here dealer, and even if, including your wholesale transactions. We capture all that information and put it in a dashboard that's easy to view, that's intuitive, that's requires no spreadsheets, none of that. And you have it right out all at your fingertips. One of the really cool things about this as well is that if you see nowadays everything should be in your phone. I'm going to pull up this demo here as well, and you can see the load here real quick. If you're ever on the go, you got that information right at your fingertips. All this information is right here in this device. Now, granted, it's not the best device to view it in, but if you have a tablet or one of those bigger phones, then it's great. And you don't have to do none of that. All you do is plug in your numbers. You can see in this KPI key card here that we have, we provide you with all your KPI averages at the very top. And at the bottom, it's deal by deal transactions. This can be customized and tailored to your needs. So if you have something different that you don't care for, like here, you can take it off and add whatever it is that you want to see. But basically, the whole point of this is to show you guys that this updates every single day, and you have that information like that. All you gotta do is pull out your phone, log on your computer, and see that information and how much time we would have saved by plugging in this information in to our model here. But anyways, guys, that is it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Going forward, I will be trying to provide you guys with some additional content like this. I think that, the more that we can give back to our community from the knowledge that we have, the best everybody is. If you have any questions or if you want to reach out to me, you can go to our website at www.autoanalytics.net. My email is martin@autoanalytics.net. And I look forward to speaking with you guys. Thank you very much.